Good morning, everybody. Welcome at the BIS webinar this morning. My name is Maarten van der Schaaf. I'm the Director of India Connected based in Amsterdam. And with me here is Dhruv Thakur, Head of the Legal Compliance at Maier and Vidorno, based in New Delhi. Actually working from the office. Most of his colleagues are at home, but he's at the office today. India Connected and Maier and Vidorno work together to advise and to support European companies that are doing business in India on a broad range of issues, from market entry to recruitment to, well, of course, today we're going to talk about registrations, so legal affairs, fiscal affairs. We help on sales, we help with manufacturing. So we are very we have a broad range of services. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the BIS, so the Bureau of Indian Standards is the topic. We're going to have an interview format. So I'm going to ask the questions, and Dhruv is our specialist, so he's going to talk us through and share with us what we need to know. All of you are on mute, as you probably see, and but it doesn't mean that you cannot say anything. Please, if you have any questions, there's a chat box. I'll be having an eye on the chat box, so have a look at that and pose your questions there when you have them. Okay, so let's kick off, Dhruv. We shared the news about this webinar and basically saying for all companies that are selling in India, this BIS is important. This is something that you really need to know about. Maybe give us a short introduction. Why is this an important issue, and why is it important today for the audience that is listening and watching?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. So good morning to all of you. My name is Dhruv Thakur. I am head of legal compliance Maier Vidorno, India. And I am going to share you information regarding product registration with BIS. And as the question asked by Martin, that what is the need of BIS registration? Why do we need BIS registration, right, Martin?
Yes. And why is it important? Why do all these companies that are tuned in today, there's almost a record number, why do they need to know about this?
Right. So I would like to share a slide here on the screen, and then to share that to reply the answer of your question. One second. Yeah. So one of the objectives of World Trade Organization is to have a flow of trade among member countries as smooth and predictable as possible, and to remove restrictions on trade and particularly obstacles. However, the technical barriers to trade, such as technical regulations, standards, process of registrations, are not considered unreasonable restrictions. So this is very common for the member countries to have technical barriers to trade, such as regulations, standards, with regard to some products. Let us take an example. A manufacturer of country A would like to sell the products into country B, and let us imagine country B is India, and in India we have certain regulations with regard to that product. So the manufacturer of country A is required to comply those technical requirements to sell the product into India, subject to condition that this kind of technical regulations should not be discriminatory in nature. It means the regulations applicable on the foreign manufacturer or the product of foreign manufacturer, it must be applicable on the product manufactured by Indian manufacturer also. So these kind of technical regulations are very common among the member countries, and India and Europe also has technical regulations. We say European standard, which is required to be followed by the manufacturer or any company who would like to sell the product into Europe. In the same way, India also has its own technical requirement or technical regulations for some products, but this is not for all the products. There are certain category of products which needs registrations, and then this category is not static, this is dynamic, and government add more products in the category where it needs product registration.
So this is Dhruv. You say that the government is adding more products, and this is why it is also relevant today. You have, I think you have a slide somewhere of the increase in only of last year, even or this of 2020, of more products that were being added. So that's also why where the urgency and relevance is coming from at this point, right?
Yes, Martin, I would like to show you that slide.
Yes, yeah. This one.
So before that, I would like to, before I come at this slide, okay, I would like to share here that this kind of technical regulations which comes by way of quality control orders, this is issued by regulatory bodies or by ministries of government of India. So we have regulatory bodies, many regulatory bodies in India, and they have their area, like you can see on the screen, FSSAI. This is Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. So food related items are regulated by this authority. Similarly, we have drugs or medical equipment. These are regulated by CDSCO. Apart from that, we have Ministry of Steel for steel products. We have Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology for electronic products. So they also issue this kind of regulations which needs registration requirement. So now I would like to come here. Yeah. So in this year 2020, I am sharing you some of the quality control order which has come out. So in the first line, you can see for Ministry of Steel, in the year 2020, in the month of February, new products category added in that. In the month of June also added, and latest in the month of November, they have added few categories which needs registration, which was otherwise not required earlier. For chemical products, you can see in the month of June 2020, 13 new chemical products registration added here, which was earlier only 3 or 4. So there are other, so DPIIT, Department of Promotion for Industry and Internal Trade, they also keep adding many products in that. So these are not the exclusive list of the items which have been published in the year 2020. These are only some of them.
Yeah, so the trend is clear that more of these bodies are adding products or product categories and say, hey, if you want to sell this into India, you need a mandatory BIS registration, right? That's
Yes.
That's what you're saying, huh? Okay.
Yes. And if I add here, if you see the trend in the last 2 years or last 2 to 3 years, the new quality control orders issued by ministries or department in India is much more in comparison to the last 6-7 years. So yeah, in the next 2-3 years, there will be more items added here.
Yeah. And this BIS, because there's this different organizations that are well, what you were saying just now about food or medical devices that can ask for this. But BIS, is that the Bureau of Indian Standards? That's the government body that gives that the certification. You need a certification from that body, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this is so it doesn't matter for what product. If it is mandatory for your product category, you need to pass it via the BIS.
No, not in every case. There are different regulators also, but for most of the product, BIS is relevant. For example, for drugs, BIS is not relevant. For that, there is a different authority, CDSCO. But apart from drugs and foods, most of the items, though some of the medical product and some of the food item are also covered by BIS, but in general, these items are covered or regulated by different authority. But BIS is the authority, Bureau of Indian Standard, which consists most of the items which needs registration in India.
Okay. So if I think about the audience now, probably their most important question is now, okay, what about my product? What about my sector? Is BIS obliged? Is it mandatory for me? And how can I check this? Can you share something about this?
Yes. I have slide on that also. Yeah. I would like to come here first, then I will come on another slide.
Okay.
So for product registration by BIS, there are basically two types of registration, and one is under compulsory registration scheme, we say CRS, and another is ISI mark scheme. So for ISI mark scheme, there are different categories of product. You can see from cement to electrical goods to food and related products, many things. And for CRS registration, you can see there are only electronics or information technology related goods, and there are also solar goods here. So for this category, which is covering 338 categories of products under ISI scheme, I would like to show you. Yes.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yeah, under ISI, that is Indian Standard Institution ISI category. So out of 338 groups, you can see there are 16 kinds of cement. So if anybody is interested to sell in India, they need to get registration here. Similarly, there are household electrical goods, 15 category of products, batteries, food and related products, there are 15. So you can see the list of items, list of categories here, and not only new products is added in the category, but new entire category is also, you will see, comes. Like you can see here, toys was out of this BIS registration purview earlier, but this year toys are in the mandatory category. Like footwear, this is also new items.
Okay.
In the steel and iron products, there are approximately 100, you can see the absolute number, 150 categories of iron and steel products covered. It was earlier 30-40.
Okay, so there's an enormous increase there. And if I have now, for example, one specific steel or iron product, how can I find out if for my product BIS is also mandatory? Like, is there a way? Where can I look this up?
Yes. So if we talk about steel and iron products, so there is a custom. So if any product requires BIS registration in India, then what is the consequence of that? Consequence is that the product cannot be manufactured, stored, distributed, and sold in India unless there is a product registered with BIS. And custom is also not allowed to clear the product for import into India unless the product is registered. So if the product is, let us take an example of steel and iron products. So manufacturer who is selling steel product into India, the product has HSN code. So the custom authority is also aware that for this HSN code, we say in India, we say ITC, Indian code. So ITC HS code. So custom authority will not allow the product to enter into India if the product requires registration. But custom authority is custom authority regulates this or control these things by way of ITC HSN code.
So if for a long time I've been selling my steel product to India without any problem, this is the HS code, nothing is fine, it all goes in. Suddenly there's this BIS is mandatory. And if I'm not aware, I just export my product to India, and then at the customs they say, "Oh, stop! BIS is mandatory. It cannot enter into the country." That's the situation we're dealing with, right?
Yes, this is the situation. So it happens many a times we get query that some foreign manufacturer and seller was selling some product into India, or even steel product also. They used to sell certain steel products into India, and by way of addition of new category of steel products in the mandatory registration, now they are facing problem that product is already in the Indian custom and custom is not allowing to clear the product. So they face situation which is very difficult, and where to they have to get the product back to them, and it needs, I mean, not only sale is deprived, but there are considerable cost to take the back products also.
Okay, so it's really something, as soon as you know that BIS it becomes mandatory for your product, you better make sure that you're before you export something, you have this BIS registration. So, but there must be something like a website where I can check this out myself, or
Yes, I would like to show you. I have this slide, but before that I would like to show you one thing also. I have one specimen of quality control order with me.
Okay.
So when the new requirement of registration arise in India, this kind of publication is made by Government of India. So you can see here, and this is the actual copy of quality control order for chemical and fertilizer product. So you can see here, this is Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, who is the issuing authority. And the date is New Delhi, 16th June 2020. So this 16th June 2020 is the date of publication of this order, but date of implementation of this order is not this date. I mean, they have given, you can see it shall come into force on the 181st day from the date of its publication. So approximately 6 months of time they have given, so that industry and the manufacturer can prepare for registration and they can continue their business.
Yeah.
So if you further see so in the quality control order, we also see the name of the product, which is new addition in the product. You can see here pyridine. So this is the new articles added for chemical registration, and IS 8058 is the relevant Indian standard which is required to be complied for registration of this pyridine chemical with BIS. So this is it. So we have to, for chemical industry, they have to keep their eye open that what new orders is being issued by ministry, and if for their product, if any order is relevant, they have to start working immediately so that within the given time they can get their product covered with BIS registration and continue their sale.
Yes, because 6 months seems like a long time, but it's the process is lengthy. I understood.
Yes, and your another question, that where we can check.
Yes.
This
I
saw you.
I already see some questions in the chat that people saying, what about this product? What about this product? So people are, yes, this is what probably people are interested in.
Yeah.
So these are the websites. Talk us through.
Yeah, so in the first line you can see the bis.gov.in. This is the website of BIS, and within the website we have link. Second line, link to see the list of products under mandatory registration. So I mentioned there are two categories: ISI scheme of registration and electronic and IT product registration. So we have two separate lists where all the mandatory registration lists are given, and anybody can view this. This is free of cost and can be checked.
Okay, and I understand, of course, that people in Europe who are exporting their goods will not go and check every day on this website if by any chance their product is added to the list of mandatory goods. Normally, is it also the importers or their clients who make them aware, or from your experience, what's normally the process of this?
Yeah, many a times if the manufacturer is selling the product, there must be a buyer in the country. They may have their own subsidiary company who is selling, importing and selling, or they may have their importer who is importing and selling. So they are the importer and the subsidiary company. They also keep eye on that. What is the new development going on in the field of this BIS registration, and they generally communicate to the manufacturer that we need to go for registration, otherwise import will not be allowed.
Okay.
And sometimes
So
they also, sometimes, by way of this kind of webinar or by seminar or by other information, manufacturer also have the system or means to know these informations.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's normally how it goes. But sometimes companies can be surprised and have their goods at the customs. You say. Okay, so these are the so if companies, if I'm listening now, or our audience is listening now, or maybe they stopped listening and straight away went to this website to see if their product is on there, and then if it's on there, can they apply for BIS themselves easily, or can you say something more about this whole process?
Yeah, I would say whether they can apply themselves. Let us judge the answer of these questions themselves. I would like to share the process of registration first.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Probably then they will see, okay, I can do this myself, or maybe you and your team can help.
Yeah, yes. So I would like to back on this slide again. So there are two different categories of product. One is electronics and IT product, and other categories is for many different categories of product. So you can see one falls under CRS, compulsory registration scheme, and other is ISI mark scheme. So by word compulsory, please do not get confused, because both are compulsory or mandatory. There is nothing optional here, but the name is compulsory registration scheme for left side of product. So you can see there are two different logo in the left side, different logo, right side there is a different logo. So the first one, left side, is for only electronics and IT products. So in the link what I have shown you just a few minutes ago, you
Yeah.
can see if you are electronics or IT manufacturer, you can see that whether your products are here, and thereafter you can see if your products are here, then obviously either your product is registered, or if this is a new product, you need registration. And for ISI part here, so the process and not only category is different here, but the process of registration also different, and effort is also different. So for electronics item, the whole registration process takes approximately 2 to 3 month time, where for ISI mark scheme it takes 6 to 9 month of time. Okay,
So
and
that's
once the
if you only know 6 months from before, the sooner you know it, the sooner you start, the better. I understand.
Yeah, because 6 month time is, I would say, if the manufacturer, if the consultant, if BIS, all three works with full speed, then this is possible to complete it in 6 months. But I come on the process part. Okay, I come on the process part, and
Yes.
then we can have more idea on that. So this process is for electronics or IT related product under CRS scheme. So briefly, there are three stages of this process. First is to get the samples imported in India and to get the samples tested by BIS approved lab and to obtain report from them. Stage 2 is related to preparation of application and enclosures, and thereafter to submit all these things with BIS under stage 3 by paying the fee, application fee, so that BIS can scrutinize the documents, and once they are satisfied and happy, they can grant the license. But if you talk, it will be detail in that. Can I?
Yes,
Martin?
sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yes.
So yeah, this is very briefly, I shared you the broad headlines, but if we come little detail in that, so first process is to create a login ID and password on the system. And at this stage, we need to provide many informations regarding manufacturer, regarding their product, regarding their requirement. And after that, we generate a TRL. This is test request letter. And this document is very important because it helps us to import the samples into India. Because I already have told custom will not allow import of product if this needs BIS registration. So they do not allow unless we provide this test request letter to them. It means the product is not for commercial activity or for sale, but it for testing with BIS laboratory. And we organize to, and there are hundreds of BIS lab in India, but we take care the labs must be approved. We take care the lab must be approved by BIS, because if the lab is not approved by BIS, and then test report provided by that lab will not be accepted by BIS. So again, on the website, we check that where we provide these samples for testing, the lab, whether the lab is registered with BIS or not.
Yeah.
And obviously we have to pay charges to the lab, and these charges depends upon the lab also, and depends upon the product for which we are applying this. Roughly this charges is €1,000 more or less, depending upon other things. And thereafter a laboratory takes approximately 20 to 30 days of time to provide the report, and they also share a copy of report directly to BIS and one copy to either applicant or coordinator like us. And then stage 2 is regarding preparation of application, which needs many information regarding manufacturer, regarding their place of location, regarding top management, technical management, and of course product related information. You can see here one information, AIR details.
What's that?
So this AIR detail is authorized Indian representative details. So for foreign manufacturer, they must have Indian representative who can represent foreign manufacturer before BIS. This is a mandatory requirement. And if manufacturer is having already a subsidiary company or group company or liaison office or branch office in India, they can also work as AIR for them. But if they do not have, Indian individual can also represent them. And this obviously this relationship is to be mentioned in the nomination form, where manufacturer will nominate Indian representative and Indian representative will accept this nomination. So once we complete the application part, then this test report and all other informations, which includes business license of manufacturers, brand details also, we submit everything to BIS. And the process is neither fully digital or online or not physical. There is a mix of that. So in one stage, we create login ID password. In another stage, we also file physically the signed document after generation of Form 6. So BIS scrutinize that. If satisfied, they grant license, and license is valid for 2 years. Thereafter, there is a process of renewal, and renewal can be for 2 to 5 years. And after expiry of renewal, again application can be filed for renewal. So renewal can be for continuous period.
Okay, one more thing, Dhruv, about this AIR. So this could be, for example, if I work with a distributor, my distributor could be that AIR, that person, right?
Yes, Martin, you are right. We are doing some cases of BIS at this moment. And then importers, employee or importers office person has accepted to be AIR, and we are moving in that way. So this option is also workable.
Okay. Then So this is for one side. So this is the CRS.
This is for, yeah, this is for one side, and you can see in the last column, so far 15,841 applications is already registered with BIS, and these applications belong to 61 different countries. And as per today, I have taken this information today morning, 926 applications are pending with BIS. It means application have been filed, and this is in the stage of scrutinization by BIS.
I see.
And I now come on the next slide with regard to your ISI mark scheme. Yeah. So before I come on the process, few questions are very important to understand. So we generally many a times we face this question that who can be applicant? Can importer be applicant, or can distributor or dealer can apply on behalf of any product registration? So answer is no. Applicant can be only manufacturer and no any other intermediary or connected parties. And if the same manufacturer is having two different premises or location where they have manufacturing facilities, and if they would like to apply for the product, if they would like to apply for the registration with regard to product made at two different premises, then they need two different applications to be filed with BIS, because this application is all about confirmation of quality of product, and quality of product can be are relevant only with regard to the place of manufacturing, because equipment, machines, everything at one place may not be at different place. So there will be two applications in that timeline. We already have discussed. The BIS website also says that approximately it takes 6 months after filing of application, and 6 months after filing of application, it takes approximately a month or so time to prepare application, because application is also very exhaustive. I will show you what informations are required to be submitted here.
Okay.
And so far, if you see the last line here, 1090 cases of foreign manufacturers are registered so far, and this registration process started from the year 2000 in India for foreign manufacturers. So in the last 20 years, we have approximately 1000 cases.
But that's not really a lot, I think, and probably it's increasing in the because it was not mandatory for many categories, huh?
You are very right, Martin. There are two reasons behind that. One is that for many of the products, registration was not required. Therefore, everybody did not come for registration. But in the recent 1 to 3 years, we see there are more items here. And this year, almost because of this pandemic, I do not see that any case has been granted in this year from March in India under this category.
Okay.
So these numbers is belonging to last year number.
Okay.
But I show you here.
But you see, but it must be increasing when there's more, when the trend is that more and more products are mandatory, more of these registrations will be filed.
Yes, there are many registrations, applications have been filed here. There is a big queue with BIS because of this pandemic. Once I share you the process of registration, you will see that inspection of the manufacturing premises by BIS officer is part and parcel of this process. And this inspection could not happen because of this pandemic. So there are filing of cases with BIS.
All right.
Okay. So now before I would like to come here first. So under ISI scheme registration, so the first stage is documentation. Once we complete the application and informations and enclosures and documents, we file this with BIS, and BIS is required to review all the application and documents. If they have any query, obviously the query will be raised. Documents may also be, additional documents may also be required. Once we provide everything, they are satisfied, then documentation part will be accepted by BIS, and internally every month a meeting take place with BIS. technical committee meeting. In that committee meeting, BIS nominate a senior officer who is required to visit the place of manufacturer to verify all these things. And thereafter, we say inspection. The process is called inspection. So BIS officer visits the place of manufacturing. They also carry a copy of all the documents we submitted to BIS. So they are supposed to verify the documents and everything with the place of, I mean, at the manufacturer's place. And they also get the product tested in the laboratory of manufacturer. For many registrations, to have test laboratory with the manufacturer is very normal and common. So they get the product tested in the laboratory of manufacturer, get the report of that. They prepare their own report there, and then the verification or recommendation of BIS officer, the test report, which is to be done there in the premises of manufacturer, is very, very important. And not only they test the product in the laboratory of this manufacturer, but they also seal the sample in the premises, and this sealed sample is sent to BIS approved laboratory in India, so that independent report can be prepared by third party. And this report, the report prepared by BIS officer, recommendation, everything plays very important role. And if the BIS satisfy with everything, then issue of the license is granted by BIS and certificate is issued.
So this means that if I have a factory in Europe, someone of the BIS official will come to my factory in Europe and do inspection.
Yes.
Then seal that specific product. It will be sent to India. At the customs, they'll understand, hey, this is for testing. It will go to an BIS test certified test lab, and there it will be tested again. And then that's all part of the documentation, and then
grant of license.
Then grant license,
is granted.
Right? Is this a good short summary?
But I would like to give you a feeling of documentation. How documentation? Yeah. I mean, what documents we need to prepare when we say documentation?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is not the exhaustive list. These are important documents I have taken. There are more documents here. So there is a prescribed format of application by BIS. Here, nothing is online, everything is physical. So BIS has their format. We fill the application information regarding location of manufacturing facility, management detail, technical team, authorized signatory. Again, this is AIR, as well as the authorized signatory of the manufacturer. So this is also, I would like to highlight authorized signatory here, because sometimes we see the CEO of the foreign manufacturer sign the document because they say CEO is authorized signatory, or a director of the company sometimes sign. But when the inspection takes place and BIS officer visits the place of manufacturing, here also the same authorized signatory who has signed the initial application is required to sign documents with the BIS officer. So sometimes we have faced difficulty that that person is away from location because of some other important meeting. So we suggest not only one person, but there should be a group of 2-3 persons who is authorized by way of board resolution to sign documents, so that at the time of visit, any one of the authorized person is available to sign the document.
Okay. Yeah.
You can see thereafter also list of raw materials to be used in the production facility, list of machineries in the production facility, list of testing equipment of the laboratory. So these all things, there is a format prescribed by BIS that what information is relevant to provide to them.
Yeah.
There is a layout plan. There is you can see process flow chart. So from beginning to end, how the process works with the manufacturer's premises. So there are many documents which is required to be prepared, and sometimes we face difficulty to prepare everything. We need to handhold. If I use the word handhold, this is not, I mean, this is justified word. So we need to support to prepare documents in a proper way to file with BIS, because if application is incomplete, BIS will not proceed further, and application either will be rejected or they will raise query to complete the document first.
Yeah, so Dhruv, this is an important point. That this, you have to be exactly precise, and the devil is in the details. Also with this certification, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also what you with your team can do and
Yes.
support, or the hand holding, as you call it. Yeah.
Yes.
I see. So okay, the fees. You have again a next slide on the fees. That's of course also that's of interest to our audience.
Yeah. So you can see here there are different kind of fees to be paid, and this fees is related to one standard. I mean, for one application covering one standard. So we have so amount is in US dollar. So you do not see, this is not too much. $15 US lab test charging. This is approximate figure. $1,000 US. It depends upon product to product, but this is approximate figure. And when the BIS officer comes for inspection, they also charge inspection charges. So roughly $575 US for one Indian standard. Similarly, this 500 is per diem expenses. These all are you can consider the either fee or expenses for BIS registration.
Yeah.
And every year we also have to pay marking fees. I mean, once the product is registered with BIS and the manufacturer is selling the product into India, BIS requires a fees which is called marking fees to be paid by manufacturer. And this depends upon the quantity and volume of the sale into India. This is not too much, but there is a minimum marking fees that if there is a nil sale, once registration is done and there is no sale, or there is a less amount of sale, in that case also 1,250 is a minimum marking fees which is to be paid. And at the last you can see,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, at the last you can see performance bank guarantee. This is 10,000. This is not a fee, this is a bank guarantee. So the banker of the manufacturer, foreign manufacturer, they need to provide a performance bank guarantee to BIS, and the amount should be 10,000 US. So this is not a fees. There is no physical submission of 10,000 US. This is just an arrangement that the banker will provide this performance bank guarantee to BIS. So this is all about fees. And of course, on the top of that, there is a professional fees to support for the whole process.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the fees to BIS only.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you can see in the last part, the expenses for visiting of BIS officer, their insurance, visa, stay, everything is also to be borne by the manufacturer applicant.
Yeah. So if okay, and I understood there's also something like there's also an alternative. This no objection certificate. Can you say something about that?
Yes. So before that, I would like to come here, Martin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then I will come on that.
Yeah. Okay.
It will give clarity. Yeah.
Okay.
So as a first stage of registration process under ISIE scheme, we need to identify the Indian standard. And in some cases, identification of Indian standard is very easy, where there is a product name mentioned in the standard. In some cases, this is quite confusing, particularly for steel products. There are many categories, and sometimes it creates confusion that under which IS we should apply our registration. And requirement of BIS or requirement of quality control order is to comply the provisions of Indian standard. So to comply all the provisions or entire provisions of Indian standard by the manufacturer. In the Indian standard, you will see there are many things, particularly the chemical composition, and particularly for the steel industries, what kind of raw materials are used here, and what should be the percentage composition of raw materials, and what should be the range of that, what should be the tolerance of that, what should be the mechanical properties, everything is mentioned in that. And if any of the parameter is not complied by manufacturer, then BIS license cannot be granted. So now I would like to come on the NOC part.
Okay. Because yes, what to do then?
Yeah.
If your product doesn't fit in.
Yeah. Now I would like to come here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many a times we see that some of the parameters of Indian standard is not met by manufacturer, and manufacturer. So in this case, there are two options. Either manufacturer makes some adjustment in the system so that for those product who they want to sell into India, they comply the parameter laid in the Indian standard.
Yeah.
But in some case we see that manufacturer have their own system, and India sale is not so big sale, so they do not like to make any adjustment in their system. So in that case, BIS registration is not allowed. But this is, we also see that in that case, they may have their own proprietary product, that this product is either as per their own brand or proprietary, or they are following some European standard which is different from Indian standard. In that case, they can apply to BIS, they can come to BIS and apply. There is a process of NOC that the product which we are selling to India or intend to sell to India is not as per your standard, because we are following American standard or Japanese standard or European standard, and this is the parameter, or this is our own standard, we have the proprietary grade product. In that case, BIS is to see, and if BIS is satisfied, they can issue NOC, no objection certificate, that since your product is not matching our standard, so you do not need BIS registration, but we issue no objection certificate. And if you show this NOC to the custom will allow to clear the product.
Okay, so this is an alternative route. But that sounds when I'm listening now for the first time to this story, you would say, hey, this sounds very attractive. But are there any downsides to this NOC?
This is, first of all, Martin, if the product of the manufacturer matches the standard, we cannot follow this NOC route. This option is available only for those product for which there is no Indian, either there is no Indian standard for that, or Indian standards, the conditions are not being matched by the manufacturer. But here, this is not a simple process. We have seen that it creates more difficulty. In the reason is that for BIS registration, once we go for registration and certificate is granted, we can continue to sell into India that product without any difficulty. And once the period of validity over, we apply for renewal and we can continue. But in this case, for every shipment, we need no objection certificate.
I see.
And there is no guarantee whether NOC will be given or not. But for the same product, if NOC is granted by BIS once, there is a quite possibility that they will again grant, but there is no guarantee for that. But every time they have to follow the process for no objection certificate. Okay,
so this gives it sounded maybe a bit easier than it is in the end. So and anyway, if your product falls into a BIS category, you need to follow the BIS route anyway.
Yeah, but I would like to add here. Many a times we get a query from the foreign manufacturer that they are ready to go for registration, and this is their product, and this is the standard where they want to register. But when we check the standard and their product or the test certificate of their product, we find that actually this product is not able to match the BIS requirement as per the standard. In that case, the option left for them is no objection certificate. But as I told you, this is not there is no guarantee that this will be given by BIS. BIS has to scrutinize every time the documents, the requirement, and then they will issue this NOC.
Yeah. We're getting it's 10 to 11. We said well, we definitely finish at 11 o'clock European time, so we have 10 more minutes. The chat is open, so people can add their questions. Someone is asking, how shall I proceed when I'm only a trader?
So in case of trader has to identify, or trader is aware that if trader is purchasing from the manufacturer directly, then trader is to convince the manufacturer, hey, I am able to sell your product into India only if you go for BIS registration. Otherwise, your product will not be, we will not be able to trade your product.
Yeah. Okay. So that's then the message to the manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay. Another question, like, do you advise companies to obtain BIS registration already before it becomes mandatory? Yeah, this is of course something like, otherwise you have to check all the time if it has to be done for you, and you might be late. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah. So I would say your question, the answer of your question is having pros and cons both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are many standards in India, and some of the standards are connected with mandatory registrations, and some of the standards are, we say, voluntary in nature. It means if a manufacturer in India is selling a particular product which doesn't fall under mandatory registration, he can manufacture easily and he can sell, because the restrictions of BIS is applicable where the registration is mandatory only. And similarly, the foreign manufacturer can also sell. But if standard is available for that product, and if the manufacturer is able to match the standard, in that case, we advise they can think over that and they can go for registration. Or at least they can prepare themselves, because when the time, so because many voluntary standards are putting under mandatory categories. So once BIS will issue this quality control order that this product needs registration, 6 months may not be sufficient for them. So at least they can see that and they can think over that. And if not difficult for them, I mean, if the volume of sale is considerable, then they should go for registration.
Yeah. Okay. I see pros and cons.
Yes.
What about companies that manufacture in India itself and sell outside of India? Do they also need BIS?
Yes. So as I told in the beginning, that many of the countries have their own technical requirement or regulations. So if the manufacturer in India is manufacturing any product to be sold in, let us say, take an example of any European country, particularly any country, or within the Europe, and Europe has already standard for that product.
Yes.
So Indian manufacturer is also required to comply in the same way, the same requirement what we are discussing for European manufacturers to sell into India.
Yeah.
So in that case, BIS has, BIS has given exemption to them, or not BIS, by government of India has given exemption for the export product, that you can manufacture the product even if there is a regulations in India and regulations in foreign countries, but you comply the foreign countries requirement, and you do not need to require the BIS standard to be followed for your product.
Yeah. I see. Let me have a look at the chat box still, if there's any more questions. Or is there a last remark from you, Dhruv, that people should at least take away when they leave this webinar in a few minutes?
Sorry, Martin, I did not get.
Yeah, if there's still something, I have another, like, let me have this other. There's someone who's asking about textiles. does this fall under ISI and BIS certification?
Yeah, I mean, we would like to get, I mean, if any of the listeners or attendees have any query regarding their product, I would request to share product specification, not only the category of product textile, but the product specification, so that we can check and confirm.
Okay.
But as per my knowledge, textile is not in the category of BIS registration.
Yeah. Okay. It's not part of it. Yeah. So maybe that's anyway a good point for everyone to know. We're happy to check if it's for you, if it's mandatory or not for your product. That we do free of charge, I can easily say. That's a simple thing for us, at least to check if you cannot find it yourself on the BIS website. For now, I'm looking also, some attendees are already leaving, so I think I'm going for the closing remarks. Thank you all for joining this session with us today, for the interest. I hope it was useful and clear. I hope most of your answers are or questions are answered. On the screen you see my face for Dutch listeners, and for all German-speaking listeners, Thomas' face is there with the contact details. So any questions, please give us a call or send us an email to continue on this topic, or have a conversation on something else. Something which is good to know, there's one more question coming through, but I'm finalizing this, so people who want to leave or need to leave can leave. Please know that we will share the slideshow with you, and we also recorded this session, so we also sent you a link of the whole recording, so you can have a look back at it, or listen again, or share with colleagues. And then I have this last question coming through. Someone is asking, why is India making it? No, this is not the one. Yeah, someone is saying, why is India making it so difficult? But that's probably, yeah, we discussed this already a bit. Did I have another question somehow? No, I don't see it now. Okay, sorry, I don't know who asked that question, but I cannot find it somehow. So please, if you have it, send it to us in the email. Apologies for that. Yes, I'm gonna say goodbye to you, Dhruv. Thanks for your clarity and sharing all your knowledge with us today. Okay, we're gonna close. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you all.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your very good support and organizing this your questions in a very good way. And thank you to the listeners. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.